Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm so happy that you're joining us today. And so first of all, I want to apologize in advance. We are having some technical issues. I'm here right now with Patti Negri, and Mary Marshall is with us, but we're having some technical issues. This is what you call Mercury in retrograde gone ballistic, because the last 72 hours, just incredible things have happened, at least to me technically. And it's showing up on the show, so I apologize. And hopefully we can get Mary's beautiful face on here and her voice, and she'll be able to participate. But in the meantime, let me tell you about Patti. Patti is a psychic medium and a good witch. I love that. And is best known for her recurring role on the Travel Channel's #1 show, Ghost Adventures. She is the international best-selling author of Old World Magic for Modern World, Tips, Tricks, and Techniques to Balance, Empower, and Create a Life You Love. That's a long title. Patti's body of work includes appearances on shows such as MasterChef, Beverly Hills Pawn, The Jeff Lewis Flipping Out, and she has graced a number of magazine covers and has contributed to over 20 books and conducted seances on radio, film, TV, and she has worked with legends in Hollywood like Emma Stone, John Voight, Josh Duhamel, Chevy Chase, and Gregory Hines. We have Mary Marshall, and Mary is a natural intuitive and empath. Her psychic abilities have been with her since the beginning. Mary is happy to be of assistance and service to others in their healing and growth. She currently uses her mediumship when leading public paranormal investigation events and giving intuitive medium readings to help her clients move forward in their lives. So, welcome, Patti and Mary. I'm going to send my regrets to Mike Cavalli because Mike is under the weather, so he was not able to make the panel. But Patti, welcome. Mary, welcome.
Hi, finally.
Oh, we can hear your voice, Mary. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. It never fails. I apologize. You know, internet, computer, I just.
Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, Halloween.
I know, it's like I can't even tell if I'm in frame here, so I hope so.
Well, your picture is not showing. I will share that with you, but your voice is on, so I'm really excited.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at this point because I'm like, why do I have no picture? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's to add to the mystery.
I'm on my phone, so I don't know if it did something wonky.
Okay. So. Well, I'm sure Matt will guide us. Were you able to talk to him?
Yeah, it's not anything it's not a normal problem, I guess, per se. It's because Patti and I and you are all together. And would you guys just stop it with the energy, putting it out? I don't...
Well, I'll just pull my energy right back in. So let's talk. Let's move forward. Let's talk about. I want you to each just give a few minutes, talk about what you do and how you work with your clients. So, Mary, you're here. Welcome. So since you just tuned in, Mary, I'll let you pop in first because you had the most frustrating morning.
I just like to make an entrance. What can I say? I'm so sorry.
And you do it so well.
What am I doing here?
I just want you to speak in your own words about how you work with your clients, your paranormal investigations, so you can give a little background on what you do before we start diving into Halloween-y kind of questions.
Okay, so well, I guess the quick version of a long story is I've been paranormal investigator researcher for about 20 years. I did not go public with the psychic mediumship until just about 3 years ago. And a lot of that is because of the science perspective I was coming from and teaching paranormal study courses at the college. You get a lot of people who are on the fence. Sadly, still, if you say, oh, and by the way, I happen to be, a psychic medium, they're like, they're gone. They don't want to listen. But then it really got to a point where it just became a calling. And, I had to do this. When I started investigating, I was helping people, that changed, that whole field kind of changed. And this brought me back to where I want to be, which is of service to people. So it's something I've had my whole life. I've just learned to really, actually, I have to tell you, spirit on the other siders, kind of helped train, if you will. And here we are. And now I'm doing reads and helping people and connecting on different levels.
That's wonderful. And Patti, let's talk about your journey.
Similar, I was closeted. I had the gift since birth. I thought everybody could talk to dead people and the guy in the closet and under the bed. I was surprised when they couldn't. I've always had this obsession for the other side. I literally, I don't know if we talked about, did my first seance at 7 or 8 when I didn't even know dead people. So I'm like, Marilyn Monroe, John Kennedy. And then I've studied it. I've been a seeker my entire life, studying philosophy, cosmologies, religion, science, every kind of what you can, and take it down to energy the way I see it. But I was closeted too, because I run a production company. I've tried to do everything else. And it's like a very corporate production company where I did these big shows. And I'm like, these people cannot know that, I talk to dead people, or the witchy side that dance around bonfires in a cloak. It just doesn't work with this corporate America. But then in 2008, when the big crash happened and corporate entertainment became a dirty word, and reality television was moving up like this, I remember somebody going, Patti, knowing how I do seances and how I really lift the veil, that they go, we need you to do a seance on this TV show. I'm like, nope, can't do it. It's a private part of my world. Please, please, please. And then my other business is crashing. I'm like, well, what's the show? And they literally said, they go, well, it's mobile home disaster on country music television. I'm like, well, nobody's going to watch that. Because again, reality was like, sure, I'll do that. Nobody will know. And then I remember when it first aired, one of my big corporate clients called and said, I saw you on TV last night. I'm like, oh, I'll never work for, Bang of whatever again. And she's like, I didn't know you were in the paranormal. I love the paranormal. And it didn't hurt our relationship. It didn't hurt. So I'm like, I'm out of the closet. I'm out of the psychic closet, the medium closet. I'm out of the broom closet. And again, that world continued because I'm sitting in the middle of Hollywood. And the other world, the corporate entertainment just never came back the same way. My passion has always been just like you, helping people, empowering people. So it's much more fun to do it in my calling from spirit versus just HR department, how to get along motivationally in a song and dance extravaganza. So it honed, spirit helped me hone what this is and just slapped me upside of the head. So my joy is working with people one-on-one like you. What I do a lot of teaching, a lot of speaking, and my paranormal stuff is that's my hobby. That's great. And I love working with like Zach and the guys, because I get to go to places I would never get to go. I would never, how do I get in, Black Dahlia House by myself or whatever. So, and again, it's bringing that spirituality, what you said, Mary, that different side of things to just paranormal investigators going out there talking to ghosts. It's like, oh wait, there's more. These are beings, these are spirits. I remember the first time Zach let me clear a house after investigation. Oh, let people know you don't have to live in a badly haunted house. How cool is that? So that's it. That's what I do.
That's so cool. And I will tell you that I saw my first dead spirit. It was in 2017, and I was just so intrigued because this energy was just bouncing up and down. There was a fundraiser in her name, this young girl who was murdered like a few blocks from where this restaurant was. And she's like, you need to tell them how happy I am. And we went back there, bought raffle tickets. And here's the thing. spirit, any spirit will keep knocking on your shoulder, or I call it like tapping on your shoulder, and it just gets harder and harder until you go, okay, fine, I'll just do it. Almost like Whoopi Goldberg in
Yeah.
Ghost, where he was seeing 99 bottles of barrel of wine. She's like, fine, just stop. And you do what you do. And that was my experience. And I don't, I'm getting more vision, but it, not born, well, we're all born with it, but I was so in my head all my life that now I'm finally less cluttered up there and I'm able to receive. And it makes a difference.
Can I tell like a quick story, because it's having to do with this, is that part of it too is religious reasons and family reasons.
Yes.
Like for so long I didn't address it and didn't know anybody else who did this. So like Patti said, sometimes I just was like, oh, you mean like other people don't do this, certain things. But one of the things that was really a monumental change for me that helped steer me, and it's amazing, I say spirit, but in this case also God. And here's why. I had a family member that was having a very serious surgery. I stop in the hospital chapel to pray. There's this woman there who has her back to me and a coat on, and she's going from statue to statue praying. I hear some sniffles and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this poor, like what's going on with her or something. And then it came, and this was like, I'm not doing any of this sort of psychic medium stuff, and I got this message. And in this instance, because I was praying in a chapel and maybe just didn't know better, or maybe it felt like God was telling me himself, you need to tell this woman this message. I'm like, in my head, I can't do that. I just can't walk up to some stranger. I don't know who this is. I'm not, what? And finally got to the point of like, okay, because I felt like I was saying no to God if I didn't, in that circumstance. Walked up to this woman and I said, excuse me. And she was leaving now. And I said, excuse me, I'm sorry. I know you don't know me, but sometimes God works through other people. And I just need to tell you, it's okay. You're going to make it. Now, I don't know every time I tell the story, I get teared because it was so meaningful for me. And this woman, through a very, very heavy Polish accent, started to just sob even more. And she's saying, she's like, thank you. And she's some of the words. And then I could see she was wearing an orderly uniform under her coat. And she proceeded to tell me that she was leaving work from the hospital to head to the airport. She was headed home to Poland because her mother was dying. And she had been praying, please God, let me make it there before she dies. Wow. That moment was so impactful for me that was the moment where I went with all the religion and the family and this and that. I said, no, you can't tell me this is wrong. This woman needed this healing, needed this message. And that was really the time where I then started to look at things differently and think, maybe I can do something good with this. It's not bad. It's not evil. It's not, whatever certain people think. So it's a big, it's a big, I think, commitment in life, responsibility, but it is a gift.
Yeah.
It is a gift.
Responsibility, that's the big one. It is a gift, it is a commitment, and the responsibility, that's when people who have the gift who don't realize what a responsibility is, that's a little scary.
Yeah.
So ladies, I've got a couple of text messages that have come through, and it talks about this gentleman, Shelley, how he came through to his wife yesterday. I don't know if there's any information you can, if you get anything about Shelley. I actually happen to know Shelley. I know this person, and he's passed away a few years ago. But anyway, she's just asking, if there's anything, if he's around, and if there's anything more, because he was around yesterday.
What I get, again, that he loves her, of course. It's heart, 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 heart is all I start seeing. And then I pictured literally a pregnant woman. That's not saying she's pregnant, but something's coming. Something's maybe she doesn't understand or know about, but something's coming, and it's good. And maybe that's why he came.
Oh, that's
That's
lovely.
what I got.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
I'm one of those, if I don't have it, I'll
yeah,
let you know.
And you can't push it. You can't make it up. I mean, you just
Right.
have to allow
Right.
things to come through. Oh, I'm sorry. I would correct it. He passed away in January. I thought he passed away longer than that, but he passed away in January. But so something's coming for.
Something's coming. It's good. It's a new birthing of something. Again, not a baby. It's a new birthing of something coming in.
And aren't we all rebirthing with this transition? I mean, 2020 has been such a year of transformation and change. It's so powerful.
And it came now because it's Samhain. It's Halloween. The veil is the thinnest. This is why he's able to really show up now. This week is the time to communicate. And it's about celebrating the dead. It's about that. It's about honoring our ancestors, just like Dia de los Muertos, Samhain in the pagan tradition. That's what it's about.
And, what is it, Day of the Dead? That's on November 1st, which will be Sunday. You know how it comes. And that was one of my questions to you. We have a break in a couple minutes, but let's start the conversation. I was going to ask, do spirits become more active around Halloween? And you were just sort of answering it, but
yeah, in my experience, I don't know how we do it back and forth. My experience is heck yes, because I do a lot of clearing. So much people is activity, good, bad, otherwise just activity. It's the time of year where I do a lot of crossing over stuff and seance stuff. And this year, even more, because we're all a little wiggy, they're all a little wiggy. So in my experience, heck yes. Mary?
I would tend to agree. I agree with it, but I want to say something about that. The reason is that it's the intention. It's all the focused attention and intentions of so many people around this occasion. So if we were to take Halloween and move it from October 31st to September 1st, that would then become the day where a lot of people report the veil is thin and those types of things, again, because you have so many people and that energy being focused on, the other side, that's really kind of the cause, not the date, not the fact that we could have chosen another day. It's all the energy of the people and thus pumping up the other side as well because of all the connecting.
Yeah. And I think it comes from both sides. I think that's 100%, just like, with a candle, red means passion, pink means love, but whatever it means to you, and we've created that.
Right.
I do also think that the Halloween, the Samhain came from the reason they put out the jack-o'-lanterns and dressed up, going back to old Europe, is because they saw the spirits. So I think both are completely true.
But again, a lot of the things in seeing the spirits, even back then, a lot of that would have been because of a collective efforts of sometimes folklore and dancing and song. And, again, it's that collective energy that is bringing it to the forefront. It's not the date. I guess I'm just trying to make that clear to the other people.
So it's the activity. It's the intention, the activity about everything. So before we go on break, which we're going to go to, Deborah Sorrells says, hello, Mary. And
hi, Deb.
Her with the loss of her brother, Raymond, and she's so grateful.
Aw, love you, Deb.
And with that, we will be right back to have more spirited conversation. Stay tuned.
Okay, good job. We're all clear. Back in a
Thank
couple.
you. That's all I can say.
We all made it. Yay.
At least 3 out of 4. But we understand he's ill.
Is Mike living in Vienna?
Yeah, he is.
I was in Vienna. Oh my God, I'm so jealous in a good way. That is just such a beautiful place.
It's supposed to be on my bucket list is Budapest, Prague, and Vienna.
Yeah. Oh, I had, there was just like Oh, it was just one of my favorite places that I've ever been. And I'm like, I'll never get back there. It was years and years ago. And, someday
I know.
we'll see.
When the world opens up again.
Yeah, right. This has been crazy.
I know, what a year, right? I mean, how has your year's been?
How what?
How has your year,
It's been
for each-
horrible. I have not, I don't know if it was COVID right in the beginning. I went through being really sick for 6 weeks
I remember that.
and I couldn't get a test. Since then, just on the COVID level, I've had as a matter of fact, the Deb who called in, her brother, who was a friend, he committed suicide because of all of this. And that was in the beginning when it was very intense and people didn't know what was going on. And I've had 2 friends die of COVID. And I just had my family, my daughter and son-in-law and stuff, they just had COVID. They were okay.
Oh, wow.
But, it's just been like, and that's, and it's so specific, like where you are to where Patti, where you are, it's so different. The experiences people are having. Some are having, like in the beginning, I had a serious problem with food shortage in my area. It was scary. It was like, this is apocalyptic. I can't get anything. 98% of all frozen food was gone, and it's on and on. So it's been a crazy year.
All right, 15 seconds.
We
Okay,
had
thank
that
you.
Too. It's like grocery stores, what you could get in after the long line to try to get in to Costco, and then there's nothing there. And the toilet paper thing, how weird is that? There's no reason for a toilet paper for it.
I know, that's crazy, right? It's almost like this is a good time to lose weight because you can't find food anyway.
Yeah, you can't go to the bathroom. So.
Yeah, less food, less weight.
To reach Marla Goldberrg or her guest today, you're invited to call into the program at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, I'm here with Mary Marshall and Patti Negri. They're both, Patti's a good witch, as well as a psychic medium. Mary's a psychic medium, and they're both paranormal investigators. And because this is our Spooktacular podcast, we're talking about all things spirit. So we were when we left, we were saying hello to somebody whose brother had passed away. But we were also talking about the spirits getting agitated. But are there such things as goblins? And what is a goblin?
Patti, I'll let you go first. You know why? And here's the reason, because when you have other attributes and study with being a witch, that I do not have those experiences. So
yeah, well, what I do is we create spirits all the time. Almost everything comes from something that was, whether mystical or real. I think we, even in our religion, put too much importance on if it was real or mythos or the story behind it. Within everything. I've never met a goblin, but I have met a fairy, and who's to say one is more than the other? That mystical being, whether, what Bigfoot, goblin, this or that. I think they're elemental energies in my experience. And I think, but we put the form and shape to them. So if you're in some country who's never seen that, what their version of a goblin is will be somebody else's. So much of it, as we make spirits, is what we make spirits. I do know that there are spirits on the other side that are the mischievous ones, these ones. I don't know if they would even know the word goblin.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel the same thing. And there's, because here's the thing, a lot of times I think and even as psychic mediums, some have, for years, you really did not hear about communication, because I think they're already like on that line thinking, okay, here are, I'm talking about psychic medium and talking to dead people. The last thing I need to do is say, oh, and by the way, I just got done talking to this, goblin or ET or something, and that would really have sent people over the edge. But it is happening more and more now. For me personally, I am at a stage, and I will tell you, it's because I I know I'm not ready for it yet, is that I can identify foreign, and I say foreign meaning not your human or your demonic or your usual entities. I can identify the difference. I have yet to actually communicate in a meaningful way. I also do Bigfoot stuff. I don't know that it was a Bigfoot or if it was some other type of elemental energy instead, but out in the woods. And I've had that experience where I'm like, there is something here. It's the strangest thing. I'm like, I know you're there. I know you're watching and you're following. And that almost felt, it was intimidating because I wanted to know. And I felt like there was a little bit of a block. Yeah. So, but yeah, I do think that there are other things out there. I think we assign names to them, but I don't know that that always is the best thing to do rather than describe the characteristics of who they are, like what a fairy may be or what a, gnome may be or those types of things.
Yeah, I agree completely. And again, from our culture and our society and our time and space, when the Victorians were seeing lots of fairies, maybe that's the same thing that people are calling ETs now.
Well, yeah. And you know what? That is a really good point about the energy, because I've said that before. I said, if you go to the UK, the incident of them having, and this is just not psychic mediums, just people having, incidences with fairies and gnomes and other types of elementals is really common, but it is not here because it is not as strong in our culture, which really then speaks to the fact of, are people perceiving an energy and translating it in what is a comfortable format for them? So it's almost like we assign this energy as being a fairy, this energy as being a human ghost. And so, because it doesn't really make sense why there's such a difference around the world what people experience.
But is there a difference energetically, like the density? Like I feel like a fairy's energy would be just sort of like light and tingly, just very feather-like, where somebody on the other side who's earthbound would be just heavier. The energy would just be heavier. I think that's the only way I could say it.
Yeah, that's how I explain and how I work, because I see energy. That's what I see. Like we like angels. Angels are they're dextral. Angels, they're pure. They have no free will side. They have no sensual side. So angels can do two things. They're two good things: enlightenment and protection. Protection and enlightenment. That's great. Fairies are on different. They're more that mischief and music and light. I work with a lot of dragon energy. Does it mean it'd have to be a fire-breathing beast? I don't know. But dragons can fly between heaven and earth. They live at the crossroads. That's a servitor, a fetish that you would create to help cause the change in your life. Everything. Bigfoot would have a big elemental lower, like a tree energy would have. So yeah, completely, Marla. I think they each have their own, and then we dress them in the way that we understand from our life experiences or our culture.
Yeah,
exactly. Do you agree with that, Mary?
Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, because that's exactly what I was meaning. Is just the energies are different, but our cultural belief systems and understanding is what we use to assign what type of being it is. So like I may feel things, and it's I think where the difference comes in as a psychic medium, you're able to see a little further in and better. But for the average person, they just know that they're taking in some wonky energy here that's not normal, and they say, "Oh, that's a gnome or something,"
Right. Well, then they also say, like in the afterlife, because as humans, we need to put a shape and put a label on it. For some reason, humans, I don't know if it's societal or whatever, but that we need to put a label on it. And I'm reading a book called The Definitive Life of the Afterlife. Is that what it is? something like that by Patricia Hayes. But it talks about when you go to the other side, that as humans, we see each other in human forms, and they see their space up there like they would have a home or a mountain or this or that, so it's not just all clouds and sparkles. There's shapes and dimensions in a way.
Yeah, I think, again, how people, are you going to the pearly gates of heaven? Are you being reincarnated? I think it's all true. Again, in studying my religions and philosophies, I go up almost to the ancient Sumerian, who I think had it the closest to right. If there is, they thought you go to your heaven of where you are. Like if you live in Boston, you go to Boston heaven. If you're a Christian, you go to the pearly gates. If you're this or that. But I think it's, again, what we were talking about, Mary, that what your thing is, because we have to put a thing. But I get, that's why if you're looking for and waiting for the pearly gates, it's kind of what you're going to get. Because I think it's more Matrix is the best way to explain it. And that's almost how the ancient Sumerians, but they just didn't know words like Matrix.
Matrix.
I just want to address, I absolutely 100% agree with is what your cultural beliefs are. And when you pass, that is what your experience is going to be on the other side. Because if you look at other culture, that's why I've always, for so many years, culture was so underrated in the investigation part of paranormal, because it just was. And it was a shame, because if you want to understand your entity, you need to understand the culture, their belief system, their morals, their values, their religion, all of that. And so, yeah, it does make I do believe that what you believe will happen is more than likely what is exactly going to happen to you on the other side.
Yeah. See, and what I've read is that what your last thought is as you're transitioning is where you'll go. So for example, if you're angry about something, you'll go to a place with people with the same mind, with beings of the same mindset, spirit of the same mindset. And those things happen quickly. You get into sort of a cycle. And until you can change your thought process, you won't move out of that space.
But you can grow and learn. So yes. Right.
But sometimes it takes time, because you're surrounded by beings with the same way of thinking. So if you think happy, joyful thoughts, happy, happy, joy, joy, you'll be surrounded by happy, happy, joy, joy. If you're thinking about anger or bitterness or fear, you'll be surrounded by beings sharing those vibrations.
And I think that's true for this world too. We create the world we live in. Hanging out with mean, cranky, people. That's why I use the word good witch over white witch or black, because why would I send out curses and this and that and hexes? Because I have to live in that world. If I do that, it could be done to me, whether it's the Wiccanry, it doesn't matter. It's we create the world we live in. So
it's so true. It's so true.
100%.
So speaking of the world we live in, let's talk about 2020 and how insane this year has been for all of us on different levels and dimensions.
You want to go first?
What do we say about 2020? In hindsight, right? 2020, everything's 2020. That's frightening. It has been obviously a unusual and an unusually strange year on so many levels. And what that has done, again, bringing it back to not any and taking away from the specifics, is how it's affected people has been huge. And it's a huge impact because, again, it's all the energy that we're putting back out, whether all the negativity, even with the good, but there's been a lot of negative and anger and so many different things going on. And that kind of can snowball, and it just keeps heightening and heightening. It really is so necessary for us all to take a step back and regroup, because we're finding, like, within our own families and our own friendships, so many arguments and just, don't want anything to do with each other anymore. And it just seems almost like insanity. I think we will recoup from this, but I do believe that it is the job of people like me and like you both to continue to put light out You know, it's kind of like you need somebody to hold that candle in the darkness so they know where to go. And so at first, I mean, sure, I've gotten caught up in it at moments, absolutely. But I've pulled back and said, this is not what my purpose here is. And that's the best that we can do, is just to continue to be a light and positive force. And slowly people will raise themselves back up.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for people to, step out of, the techniques or something to get them out of the negative and put them into a more positive frame of mind or more positive light?
What I think is this was a big wake-up call. It had to come. We all of us knew there was something coming. I don't know of anybody who knew it was this. I think that was kept from us, everybody except for Sylvia Brown, who nailed it. But that was her redemption, whatever. But I think we all knew something was coming. But I think it's a universe, God, whatever, just tried to wake us up, didn't. You guys are asleep, you're numb, you're asleep, wake us up, didn't. Wake. And so this was hitting us on the head with a 2x4. And I think that what it is, it's get back to who we are. It's that it's not out there world. So it has to be locked in our house to do it, to see what really is important. That's what I think it is. So in my thoughts of what we have to do is exactly what we are doing, showing people the light, bringing the light into the darkness, because you bring light and candle into the dark, you light up the room. Oh yeah, you see those scary shadows, but that's what we have to do. And I work with people is to get elemental. That's what my whole book is about. It's like, hug a tree for 30 seconds if you have to. Breathe. Nobody breathes anymore. No wonder you have a chatty head.
Yeah, that's so true.
I would like to offer I call it a practical, is I really truly believe one of the best ways to help yourself is to help other people. And what I would actually say is pull your head out of your own behind, and look around and reach out to someone else. And by taking your energy, your mental thought, your process, and trying to help and raise them, you are raising your own vibration, you are raising yourself up. And so unfortunately, that wasn't happening. I think it's starting to happen a little bit more, but I think the more people really try to help each other, we've become very, very selfish, very self-centered. And
Yes.
that's part of the problem.
And narcissistic and entitled.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many entitlements given that people just think they're entitled just because they're here. And I believe that it's not the case. I mean, and I love the fact of helping people, paying it forward, really, in a sense, doing for others. I know that in my little neighborhood, I want to start like a welcome wellness committee, an ad hoc, because, so that people know that they have someone to lean on if they can't get to the supermarket because they're ill. I'm not talking about because they're lazy, but because if they're ill, they're not feeling well, they can't do it, that they have somebody who's going to, who's got their back.
Yeah. And so many people that wouldn't have even suspected it for themselves, or those around them wouldn't have suspected it, have succumbed. I mean, look at this. I mean, you've got the rates of people seeing therapists right now is off the charts. Half of them are not even, accepting new patients. It's so much. That really speaks to the amount of instability that people are feeling. And that again is that instability, it has to be addressed. And I think that it will eventually level out. But the problem comes is when people really just kind of close up and say, I've had enough. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to people. I hate people, whatever, and that's where the problem really keeps growing, rather than reaching out and saying, not even it doesn't have to be in a big way or a political way or anything like that, but just help somebody else. Put your attention, and like you said, pay it forward. And that is going to be that slow process that's going to help us heal.
Perfect. Thank you. We need to go on break, but when we come back, we're being asked about NDEs. So we're going to talk about that on the other side. So stay tuned.
An incident, all clear. Back in a couple.
Thank you. Whew.
All right,
That's
how
good.
we got like 2 minutes or a minute?
1 minute maybe.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh,
Run,
so
run,
funny.
run.
You forget, right? That when you're, like I dress from the top, from my waist up.
Yeah.
And you see these
No,
commercials now. Like,
I've got on like my old goofy Ugg boots right now. It's like, don't ever look at my feet right now.
exactly. I don't wear shoes, so, but what, like there's so many people who sit in their underwear for meetings, and all of a sudden they forget and they get up and they go away, and it's like, whoops. And
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
that was Mary, but it just reminded me.
Yeah, it's funny. But this is fun. She's great.
Yeah, well, you're both wonderful. So, and I'm so
Just
grateful.
wonderful.
Oh, thank
Wonderful
you.
draws wonderful. And that's my whole philosophy. Again, that like everything we talk about, the anger, this. I do see the shift though, at least maybe in my little bubble world. Everybody's putting hearts out front of their house, which we're here to help. Big hearts. My husband made them out of drum
Oh.
heads, little rocks. One girl's painting 50 pounds of river rock, love and messages all over the.
Yeah.
One
That
person
happened at the beginning of COVID, that some kids were painting and putting these cute little painted rocks around. And so it's, it just brings the vibe up. So, and yeah, love is important, and love, I do a lot of, I call it heart breathing, love breathing, where I breathe in and and I breathe, I take a deep breath so it goes down to the first chakra, bring it back up to the heart, and then bring it out, and just up and out, because we all need it. And there are some people that are just, I don't know what's in their mind and how in their behavior, where they think it's okay to like just be absolute, buttholes to your neighbor, and then think that like, that's acceptable. I mean, I refuse to give it energy, but it's sort of like, wow, okay, because it's a reflection of them.
we're living in now. It's a anger-driven, fear-driven, and it's trickled down.
Yeah.
It's so true. Now we need to trickle down love and happiness and light, and and turn this process around.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah,
Yes.
many of us and more of us.
I think I see in general, like up the road in our future, a really serious division of mindsets and people. I think you're going to have the people who are almost communicating on the levels that we're communicating with. And then you're going to have the very almost like earthbound, I want to say,
10 seconds.
individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, the divide's getting bigger.
Yeah.
What you want to call that? Yeah.
It is getting bigger. Matt, are you trying to cut in?
Yep, we're coming back.
Okay. Oh my God.
You are listening to Guided Spirit Conversations.
I can't find the
To
paper
reach
with
Marla
your
Goldberg or
your
her guest
charities on
today,
it.
You're invited to call
Oh, I
into the
found it.
program
It's in my
at
hand.
1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is guidedspiritconversations@gmail.com. Now, back to this week's program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. I'm here with Mary Marshall and Patti Negri. Both are paranormal investigators, psychic mediums. Patty's a good witch. And before we start getting back into our conversation about NDEs, I want to give you their information. So for Patti, you can check out her website at pattinegri.com, and that's PATTINEGRI.com. And for Mary, it's theparanormalmd.com. And paranormal, PARANORMAL, MD.com. And again, we get into conversations, charity shout out time. So we have two charities. The dissection.org is Patty's, and charity, American Heart Association is Mary's. So who'd like to talk about their charity first briefly?
I will, because it's DES action and not disaction. That sounds like dissecting something. DES action. Diethyl stilbestrol. It's a women's health it's a health advocacy organization. In the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, they were giving this first synthetic hormone to pregnant women under the false belief it prevented miscarriages. It didn't work, and it became the first big pharma tragedy of our generation, with thousands and thousands dying of cancers and never seen, and infertility and stuff. So I've worked with them for years and years and years. We have advocacy for regular people, women and men. Men are affected, talk to your doctor. We training for physicians, work with the CDC, training for nurses, practitioners. So yeah, about taking your health into your own hands. And our research has actually helped all the environmental stuff going on, because it's the hormones that are getting into this stuff. So desaction.org.
desaction.org. Thank you, Mary. American Heart Association.
The American Heart Association, the one particular thing with them is I have several family members that have had heart issues, from pacemakers to valve to this to that. But when it came to children, there's a child in our family that before they were born knew that they had a heart condition. Mm-hmm. As soon as they were born, thank God, because we weren't even sure, they had a pacemaker put in and was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. The congestive heart failure did get better, but it's been really difficult. The first one, as a newborn, doesn't remember it, but at 5 years old, clearly remembers having their chest cracked open because they had to replace the lead wires and stuff, and then was re-diagnosed with congestive heart failure. The reason I bring up this whole story is the tremendous amount of support that has been afforded to the family during this period of time, dealing and with children, and having, as a child, meeting all the other children who are just like you. They host events, they host support. It's just been a really tremendous supportive organization for children, parents, and for children, parents of children in dealing with various heart conditions. Through their life, they stay with you, and it's amazing.
That's phenomenal. And they're just two very amazing organizations. And Patti, I apologize. I did this the first time too. You were on the show. I messed this up. So
that's how it looks. It's a section. What? It's funny.
I'm at least being consistent, right? But consistently screwing up the name. But I apologize, because it really is a powerfully wonderful organization, as is the American Heart Association. Absolutely. So let's move into NDEs. Let's talk about this.
What do you want to know?
Well, Deborah Sorrells has asked to talk about NDEs, and so
near death, huh? This is not getting into the description of what it is. I probably should do that, huh? Near death experience, because we keep saying it that way so that people listening know, watching knows. Near death experience. But it is a tremendous amount of things that has been, by the way, at a scientific level, meaning controlled level, proven that people have experiences where they are clinically dead and are seeing things that they shouldn't, what's going on, as if they were standing there in the room, as well as meeting other family members. There's been a lot of documentation of this. Interestingly, I did a class on this. I'm not on just NDEs, but that was a portion of it. What was tremendous is it was a small class, and it was like a studio type situation where there was only 6 students. How strange is this? We get to the end, and while we're just having sitting on the floor, just kind of kicking back in this room, and everybody starts talking more about the near death experiences. 5 out of 6 of these people we discovered at the end of this class all had experienced near death experiences themselves. How symbolic, and just for something like that to occur. They all exchanged phone numbers and stayed in contact, because unless you go through it, they could understand what each other went through, and how other people look at them like they're crazy, when they talk about these things.
Yeah. Patti, do you want to?
Well, just in my experience, again, it's a thing. It's a real thing. There's been so many books written about it. I've never experienced it, but I've talked to a lot of dead people over the last 60 years. And I think it helps take away the fear from most people, because like there is that light at the end of the tunnel. They're like, it was okay over there. I had to come back, or they told me to come back, or whatever. So I think, again, whatever it is, it gives people hope and takes away the fear of the unknown that we just have as humans.
It's true. I agree with you. My mother had an NDE, and but she didn't die, but she was on the operating table, and she came out of her body, and she met with her relatives, and saw the light, the tunnel, and then she her relatives said, you have to go back. We're not ready for you. You're not ready to be here. And she went back. And most people come back that that I've heard of with some sort of psychic abilities or enhanced sensitivity. My mother met that track. It didn't happen for her. And what did happen though, but she got really angry. She got very angry about it being sent back. And I don't know if you found a lot of people experience that.
That's because you got too left brain about it. As we know how to develop your intuitive right brain, your psychic ability, mediumship, you have to shut down that logical side. It's the dance between. I think people do come back with that psychic ability. When you cross through the veil, how I lift the veil at one of my seances, you had a near-death experience, you're doing an investigation where the veil is lifted, everyone gets more psychic once you've been there. But maybe your mom just shut it down with the logical thing, because logic will shut that down every time.
Well, it could be. I just found that to be so different from everything I've heard from other people. So, but then again,
you know what? I have to say it's kind of a 50-50. I mean, from people that I've known or have talked about it, is that it's not a given that when you go through that experience, you're going to come back and all of a sudden it's like, this everything changes. I do think that they're in more subtle ways. There's an intuitiveness that they may not even realize sometimes, but it doesn't always have to be this astounding, like, okay, now I see dead people type of experience. But I think it's really cool because it's one of those where when it's documented, can really show, all of us, that there are so many things that we just don't understand. And as weird as and crazy as it seems, well, then, what you're left with, that's the explanation. You have people who have, passed away in the hospital. And I want to say Kubla, there's a couple different names that I can't put my finger on, that did a lot of study and research in this area. And the stories of one person being in a car accident and talking to another family member, and that had deceased and had already been, had already died, but they were aware of each other's death, and there was no way they could have known that when the other person did come back. One of the two came back. So, just those types of things, completely unexplainable. And, and well-documented phenomena that does occur.
That's amazing. I need to close the show, but I want to say thank you so much. I've got to have you ladies back because this conversation is amazing. And there's still so much more to share for everyone. So Patti Negri, Mary Marshall, thank you so much for being here. To reach Patti or check her out, it's PattiNegri.com. And for Mary Marshall, the paranormal, and MD, not ND, M like medical, D like doctor.com. So please check out these two ladies, see what they do. I know they can help you. And they're available to help you at some point. I don't know what their schedules are, but I know that there's opening somewhere. So I want to thank you so much. I love you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank everyone at Voice America. Thank you. And everything that you do to get the show on. And Matt, oh my God, bless you for this week. I want to thank Bridget, my assistant, right arm, left arm. Don't know where I'd be without her. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for taking the time out of your day, out of your life to participate in the show. Whether you're listening live or listening, recorded as a replay, the information's for you. And the entertainment's for you as well, because I hope you've gotten a couple of laughs as well as some great information. I want to just share My Global Consciousness Development Circles crowdfunding page just launched. You can find it at https://igg.me/at/GCDC. Please check it out. Great perks in exchange for contributions. And I want to ask that you please be socially considerate of others during this crazy time as the numbers are increasing. You don't want to know that you got anyone sick, and you certainly don't want to get sick yourself. It's supposed to be horrifically painful. As Mary spoke earlier, she had experienced something that she had never experienced before. So please do that and be safe this Halloween. And to the next time, as always, we send you love, we send you blessings, and we send you gratitude. Stay well, stay healthy.